It's strange how the night before a big dream comes true, you can't sleep. You'd think I'd be out cold, exhausted from all the planning, the packing, the endless lists. But I was wide awake, lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, my heart pounding with excitement and nerves. My room was a mess. Clothes everywhere, shoes in a pile, my suitcase half zipped and bulging. I kept getting up to check my list: passport, tickets, charger, camera, travel journal. I'd been planning this trip to Italy for years. Every spare dollar went into my Italy jar. Every free moment, I'd scroll through travel blogs, dreaming of standing in front of the Colosseum, eating real Italian pizza, riding a gondola in Venice. I'd never been out of the country before. This was my big adventure, my chance to finally do something for myself. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, holding my passport in my hands. It felt like a golden ticket. I ran my fingers over the cover, imagining all the stamps I'd collect. I even took a selfie with it, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my daydream. It was a message from my older sister, Emily. "Hey, can you call me? It's urgent." I frowned. Emily's urgent was rarely actually urgent. Usually, it meant she needed a last-minute babysitter, or she'd lost her keys again, or she wanted to vent about her husband. But I was in too good a mood to be annoyed. I called her, expecting the usual. She picked up on the first ring. Her voice was tight, almost frantic. "Hey, I really need you to come over tomorrow morning. Can you watch the kids? Just for a few hours." I laughed, thinking she was joking. I'm leaving for the airport at noon. Remember? Italy?" She went quiet. For a second, I thought the call had dropped. Then she said, "Right, I forgot." But I knew she hadn't forgotten. I'd been talking about this trip for months. She'd even helped me pick out my suitcase. I brushed it off. Maybe she was just stressed. She had 2 little kids, a husband who worked late, and a job that never seemed to end. I told her I'd see what I could do, but I had to leave by noon, no matter what. She promised she'd be back in plenty of time. I hung up, feeling a little uneasy, but I pushed the feeling away. Tomorrow was supposed to be the best day of my life. Nothing was going to ruin it. I finished packing, set my alarm, and tried to sleep, but I kept thinking about Emily's voice. The way she'd said urgent, the way she'd gone quiet. I told myself I was overthinking it. I had no idea how wrong I was. The next morning, my alarm went off at 7 a.m. sharp. I jumped out of bed, adrenaline already coursing through me. Today was the day. I checked my phone, 6 missed messages from Emily. "Please, I really need you." "Just a few hours, I promise." "Something came up, I have no one else." "Please, I'm begging you." I sighed. I love my niece and nephew, but Emily had a way of making her problems my problems. Still, I was leaving for 2 weeks. Maybe I could help her out just this once. I called her back. She sounded desperate, her voice cracking. "Please, I have a doctor's appointment. It's important. I'll be back before you need to leave for the airport." I hesitated. My flight was at 4 p.m. If I left her place by noon, I'd have plenty of time. "Fine," I said. "But you have to be back by noon, no later." She promised, swore up and down she'd be back in time. I threw on some clothes, grabbed my bag, and headed to her house. The kids were already bouncing off the walls when I arrived. Emily barely looked at me as she rushed out the door. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be back soon." She kissed the kids, grabbed her purse, and was gone before I could say another word. I tried to keep the kids entertained, coloring, cartoons, snacks, but I kept glancing at the clock. 10 a.m., 11 a.m., no sign of Emily. I called her. No answer. I texted. Nothing. By 11:45, I was panicking. I needed to leave. I called her again, this time leaving a voicemail. "Emily, I have to go. Please hurry." At 12:15, she finally walked in, looking completely unbothered. "Sorry, traffic was crazy," she said, not meeting my eyes. I didn't have time to argue. I grabbed my bag, hugged the kids, and rushed out the door. As I left, I caught a glimpse of Emily watching me from the window. Her face was unreadable. I raced home, heart pounding. I had just enough time to grab my suitcase and call a cab. But as I opened my bag to double-check my passport, my stomach dropped. It wasn't there. I tore through my room, checked every pocket, every drawer, nothing. Panic set in. I always kept my passport in the same place. It couldn't just disappear. I called Emily. "Hey, did you see my passport? Maybe I left it at your place?" She sounded annoyed. "No, why would you bring your passport here?" She hung up before I could say anything else. I was running out of time. I searched every inch of my apartment. Still nothing. My hands were shaking. I called the airline, desperate. They told me I couldn't board without my passport. No exceptions. I sat on my bed surrounded by clothes and open drawers, feeling like the world was closing in on me. How could this happen? How could I lose the one thing I needed most? I tried to retrace my steps. I remembered packing my passport. I remembered zipping it into the front pocket of my suitcase. Had I dropped it at Emily's? Had the kids taken it? I called her again. No answer. I texted her. Emily, did you take my passport? Please, I need to know. No response. I decided to go back to her house. Maybe I dropped it there. Maybe the kids had found it. When I arrived, Emily was in the kitchen, acting like nothing was wrong. I searched the living room, the kids' rooms, the couch cushions. Nothing. Finally, I went to the bathroom. And that's when I saw it. My passport, or what was left of it. It was floating in the toilet, pages ripped, cover torn, completely destroyed. I stared at it, unable to breathe. I stormed out of the bathroom, shaking with anger. Emily was standing in the hallway, arms crossed. You did this, I said, my voice barely more than a whisper. She didn't deny it, she just shrugged. I needed you to watch the kids. You were going to leave me alone for 2 weeks. What was I supposed to do? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You destroyed my passport. You ruined my trip. For what? So I could babysit for you. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. It's just a trip. You can go another time. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All those months of planning, all that money, all that excitement, gone, just like that. I left her house without another word. As I walked home, I felt numb. I couldn't believe my own sister would do something like this. I replayed the conversation over and over in my head, trying to make sense of it. But there was no sense to be made. She'd betrayed me, and I didn't know if I could ever forgive her. The days that followed were a blur. I called the airline, the travel agency, the embassy. There was nothing they could do. It would take weeks to get a new passport. My trip was over before it even began. I tried to talk to Emily, to make her understand what she'd done, but she refused to apologize. She acted like it was no big deal, like I was overreacting. Our relationship changed after that. I stopped answering her calls. I stopped babysitting for her. I stopped trusting her. But the anger didn't go away. If anything, it grew. I wanted her to understand what it felt like to have something you cared about ripped away from you. I wanted her to feel the sting of betrayal. And that's when I started to plan. I knew I couldn't undo what she'd done, but I could make her see the consequences of her actions. Emily relied on me for everything. Babysitting, errands, emotional support. She took me for granted, always assuming I'd be there when she needed me, so I decided to stop. I stopped answering her calls. I stopped showing up when she needed help. I focused on myself for the first time in years. At first, she didn't notice, but as the weeks went by, she started to panic. She called me, left voicemails, sent text. Where are you? I need you. Can you watch the kids tonight? Please, I'm desperate. I ignored her. She started showing up at my apartment, banging on the door, begging me to talk to her. But I didn't budge. I wanted her to feel what I'd felt. Alone, abandoned, betrayed. Without my help, Emily's life started to unravel. She missed work because she couldn't find a babysitter. She lost clients because she was always late. Her friends stopped inviting her out because she was always canceling at the last minute. She tried to guilt trip me, tried to make me feel responsible for her problems. But I stood my ground. I told her, "You made your choice, Emily. Actions have consequences." She broke down in tears, finally realizing what she'd done. For the first time, she apologized. She said she was sorry for ruining my trip, for taking me for granted, for betraying my trust. But it was too late. The damage was done. It took time, but I started to heal. I saved up for another trip, this time to Greece. I made new friends, found new hobbies, and learned to put myself first. Emily and I eventually started talking again, but things were never the same. I forgave her, but I never forgot. I learned that sometimes the people closest to you can hurt you the most. But I also learned that I was stronger than I thought. I could survive betrayal. I could rebuild my life. I could chase my dreams, no matter what. Looking back, I realized that betrayal doesn't have to define you. It can break you, or it can make you stronger. I chose to let it make me stronger. I learned to set boundaries, to stand up for myself, to value my own happiness. And I learned that sometimes the best revenge is living your life on your own terms. So, if you've ever been betrayed, remember this. You are not alone. You are not powerless. And you are not defined by what others do to you. You have the power to write your own story. And that's exactly what I did.